We're back to Inside Inter Miami. We are back on. So it feels like we never left. I am your host, Andre Fernandez, joined as always by Michelle Kaufman. Welcome, everybody, back to Inside Inter Miami. Decorated in pink and black again, Michelle. It seems like, and again, what has it been? Only 6 weeks? This is the shortest off season in all of pro
Six
sports.
weeks. It is a 6 week off season. It's crazy. It does seem like we never left. I mean, I feel like we were just sitting here discussing the
We were.
final, and then all of a sudden we're in the new season.
Yep, that's right. But it feels like they've been nonstop. It was funny. I remember asking right when we were leaving, "Is there going to be a parade? Is there going to be anything?" And they're like, "Nope, everybody's going to scatter now." And it's like I don't blame them because they have such a limited time to chill and regroup and be with their families and all of that good stuff. But yes, it's been 6 weeks since Lionel Messi, Inter Miami, became MLS Cup champions for the first time. The big celebration over there at Chase Stadium. But again, short off season. The team is already back in training camp. We're going to go over that today. We're going to kind of go over the team itself. What are all the changes? Obviously, we know Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, sayonara, great careers. They have gone off in the sunset, but they're not the only ones that are gone. Fafa Picault is gone. Marcelo Weigan is gone. Ryan Saylor, Will Yarbrough. But guess who's back? Go ahead, Michelle. It's been a bit. There you go.
El Pistolero is back. He's got some
There you
more
go.
bullets. He's got some more bullets in that pistol. He is not done yet. Those of you who thought his career is over, he is not done. He signed for one more year. We'll get into that.
We'll get into that. He turns 39 next week, but again, still has something to contribute to this team. His role might be a little different from last year, but we'll explore that a little bit. But the big news recently, Tadeo Allende, one of the biggest weapons on this team after Messi, is now going to be part of this team for a while. Signed the deal through 2030. That's a great move for this team with the kind of impact he had throughout the playoff run. You saw it, how talented this young man is. Great to have him there. We're also going to talk about new players acquired, especially MLS Goalkeeper of the Year and Canadian national team keeper Dane St. Clair from Minnesota United is now a member of Inter Miami. We'll have a reaction from him. And then Jorge Mas also talked at length about a lot of these new acquisitions that we're going to get into. We'll talk a little bit about that and much, much more. The preseason schedule, another South American tour for this team starting now at starting later this week. Already in Peru.
Yes,
so a
it's
lot to get
already
into,
starting.
Michelle,
I mean,
but
they
let's talk
basically
about
had
the
one
team.
week.
Yeah.
1 week of training and they're diving right in, leaving for another country and playing a game 1 week into training camp.
Yep. So let's dive into it. Just the changes on this team, Michelle. Some upgrades, I think, in certain areas. Obviously, goalkeeper being one of them that I just mentioned with St. Clair. But what else has stood out to you about this offseason and just the wheeling and dealing this team has done?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very deliberate. This offseason was about defense. Jorge Mas said it, and it's very clear that the focus was on defense. And I think that Javier Mascherano, I've not had a chance to talk to him yet. That'll be a little bit Wednesday, actually, a little bit later this week. But the focus really was on solidifying and bolstering, strengthening the defense. There wasn't that much so far done with the attack, although there is a deal in the works for Germán Berterame, which we're going to discuss. That's a big one. He's a forward, and that would be huge. But so far, all of the changes, the big changes have been on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that Javier Mascherano came in last year as the coach. He really didn't have any experience with this league. He had never been a head coach in any league, but he didn't really know that much about MLS. He learned a lot this year, and I feel like the changes that they made in this offseason, I think they have his fingerprint or his footprint, whatever you want to say, on them. I think he wanted some stronger, specific type of defensive players. And so if you look at who they signed Facundo Mura from Racing, a 26-year-old right back. They signed Sergio Reguilón, who was played at Real Madrid. He's a Spaniard, how to spell at Real Madrid, how to spell at Tottenham. He's been up and down, but he's a guy that has a lot of potential. He's 29 years old. He wants to prove himself. He's at left back. So he was signed basically to sort of replace Alba, Muda is going to be on the right side. He will be competing with Ian Frey on the right side. Then they signed a Brazilian center back, Mikael, who played on Houston Dynamo before he went to Palmeiras. So he was on Palmeiras, but before that he was at Houston, so he knows MLS. He's only 25 years old. And then they signed a defensive midfielder, David Ayala, 23, an Argentine player, interesting, from Portland Timbers. And I spoke to Phil Neville briefly about him. He is a really, according to Phil, he's going to be great for Inter Miami's midfield. He's a defensive midfielder. His favorite player is Javier Mascherano. His mentor, Javier Mascherano. They played together on Estudiantes in Javier Mascherano's final year as a player in 2022 or so. This kid was 17 and just getting started and just moved up to the senior team. Javier Mascherano was ending his career. This kid was starting his career, and they were teammates. Mascherano took him under his wing. So he views Mascherano as a mentor and is one of his favorite players of all time. He is now going to be playing for him. And again, he's 23 years old. So a couple of things to summarize when you ask, what did I note about the changes so far? The biggest thing is defense. Absolutely focus on defense. Everyone I just mentioned are defensive player, and St. Clair, MLS Goalkeeper of the Year from Minnesota United. So they're all defensive players so far, and they're all young. They're all in their 20s. They didn't sign a 35 or 36-year-old to replace Busquets, and they didn't sign a 34 or 35-year-old to replace Alba. They signed players in their 20s, and so far, a very, very strong focus on defense.
Michelle, it's the sustainability we've been talking about for a long time that you're starting to kind of see, like, which is good to see for this franchise, because the big question is, what do they do after Messi? What do they do after Messi? These are the seeds being planted right now. Like you said, they're going younger. They're going more on the defensive side. They're addressing, not just doing the sustainability, they're addressing what's been the glaring problem for a long time for this team. Even though, that being said, during the playoff run, they got that side pretty much in order, enough to play really strong defensively to get the MLS Cup in the first place. But over the length of a long season, they need to have that depth on the defensive side of the ball.
And they need depth. They need depth on the defensive side. And to be honest, Toto Aviles, he was up and down. It was Toto Aviles and Gonzalo Lujan. They still have Maxi Falcone is back. Noah Allen is back. Ian Frey is back. Those guys are back. But they needed some depth. They really had basically, 3, maximum 4 defenders that had a lot of experience coming back from this team. But they needed some depth. And they now will have depth. And there's going to be competition at every single position. There will be competition at every position. And, Dane St. Clair, I spoke with him. We're going to hear from him now. I spoke with him at MLS Media Day about why he came here. And he said that, as the Canadian national team goalkeeper in a World Cup year, he really wanted to play for a team that is in a global spotlight, a team like Inter Miami, where there's a lot of pressure, there's a big spotlight, and he thinks that will be good for him on a personal level. It'll be good for him heading into the World Cup. So let's hear what he had to say, and then we'll talk a little bit about the goalkeeper situation. All right, so here we are, the first interview with Dane St. Clair, the new goalkeeper for Inter Miami. Everyone knows that you were MLS Goalkeeper of the Year with Minnesota, coming to much warmer weather. I just want to ask you about the transition, about coming here. Just give us your opening statement about being an Inter Miami goalkeeper now. How did this come to be? Were you surprised to get the phone call from them, and how do you feel starting with this team?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for a new opportunity, first and foremost. I was in Minnesota for a long time, so when the opportunity presented itself going into free agency, I was willing to listen to everyone that had anything to say. And then obviously my season ended a little bit earlier, so kind of just a little bit of the waiting game. And then once the season ended and free agency fully opened, my agent told me that there was a potential option to come here, or that they were one of the teams interested, and then having conversations with all the people there, the goalie coach especially, was important for me. And then kind of hearing the project and obviously knowing the ambition from the outside, but hearing what they had to say was something that I felt was really appealing to me. Obviously, it's a big opportunity for me leading up to the World Cup, being in a global market where there's a lot of pressure, and I think that's a new challenge for me and something that I'm looking forward to, and just looking to come here and play my role and to win trophies.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned the global spotlight. We just mentioned it before in the little conversation we just had. The global spotlight that's on this team, the eyeballs around the world are always watching this team. Talk about how you just mentioned it, that you think that's going to be good for you going into a World Cup year.
Yeah, of course, the World Cup is the biggest event in the world. So there's global eyes there, there's pressure. Being one of the host nations, there's going to be pressure on us and viewers from people we maybe haven't seen before. So it's something that I feel like really aligned with my next 6 months, and it felt like it was the right step and the best step for my career at this point in time.
And one last one on the video here for the podcast. What is the perception? What was your perception from the outside of this club? And now I know you've only been here a few weeks, but what do you think the perception is around the league? It seems like this is the team that sort of has the biggest target, a big giant pink target on its back all the time. How did you see this team as an opponent? And, now that you're going into actually being on the inside wearing that crest?
Yeah, I think it's when any team is considered one of the top teams, that's the team that you want to beat. Of course, I'm a competitor first and foremost, so I didn't care who I was playing against or what my situation is, or as long as you're wearing a different jersey than me on that day, that's who I want to go and beat. But I think from the outside, of course, you see a team that has real ambitions and pushes the boundaries in order to push our league forward, and something I'm looking forward to. And I think whenever you are the team that just won, the biggest target is always on your back, and the hardest thing to go and do is to repeat it. But that's definitely the goal, is to not only win one trophy, but win everything that we're a part of. And I think having that real desire and that real pressure to win games and to compete is something that I'm really looking forward to.
So there's your first interview with Dane St. Clair. He seems like a good guy. He came from Minnesota United. And again, this is where he's been in Minnesota. And it's a big difference, not just weather-wise, but also, Minnesota is not as high profile a team as playing on Lionel Messi's team in Miami with the global eyeballs. And he could potentially be the starting goalkeeper for the Canadian national team, a host country in the World Cup. So, he's very excited to come and test himself, in this market. And it's going to be interesting, as far as what's going on with the goalkeepers. Oscar Ustari, he's basically going to be 40 years old this year. He got benched, if you recall. He got benched for the playoffs for Rocco Rios Novo. So it seems like Oscar lost his starting position. It's unclear what his role is going to be this year yet. I have to still figure that out once we get to go to training camp and watch where is Oscar in the pecking order, what's going on with him. Rocco Rios Novo was on loan from an Argentine club, Lanús, and he was sent back, and they were negotiating a deal, and he is going to come back. Everything that I've been told is that he is going to come back, and there will be competition, obviously, at that position. But the fact that they brought in the MLS Goalkeeper of the Year, the presumption is that Dane St. Clair is the starter, and Rocco, even though he did a very good job in the playoffs, and they won the championship with him, he's going to probably revert to be number 2 again.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have one of the best backups in MLS by far at this point. I mean, with the experience he's had, I mean, and as we know, injuries can happen. It's not like St. Clair's going to play every single match. They're going to need
and there's going to be World Cup. Exactly, and there's going to be World Cup. Yeah, he's the Canadian goalkeeper. So there are going to be parts of the season where he's maybe with the national team, and then Rocco becomes the starter. So they're going to have 2 strong keepers. I know that Javier Mascherano said it all along last year, that you need to have Two, you need to have competition at every single position, and you need to have depth. And they really did lack depth on the defensive side. So now they are going to have a lot of defenders to pick from. Mascherano's going to have a lot of tools, which Jorge Mas is going to talk about here in a minute, about, what their focus was going into this offseason. What are the goals going into this year? They are not satisfied. If you have learned anything about Jorge Mas and David Beckham and this ownership group, is that they are going to push the boundaries. Dane St. Clair said it. And a lot of, the haters around the league say that they must be cheating. How are they bringing in all these players? Where is the money coming from? How does it fit in the salary cap? They do things in a creative way. They are very ambitious. They are spending a lot of money. They are not afraid to spend money. And for example, this thing with Dario Allende, signing him through 2030, that's a long-term contract. That probably means that his salary each year, especially now in the first and second year of this contract, the salary is, he's not going to be a DP. He's not going to be a DP level salary. So they'll use the TAM, and I'm not even going to get into explaining what all this means because it's so boring and convoluted. But
No.
MLS salaries, the MLS salary structure is very complicated. But what Inter Miami has been able to do and will continue to do is to structure their contracts in a way that the salaries fall below where they need to be for the different levels. And sometimes that means a long-term contract where maybe the bigger payout is going to be toward the end of Allende's contract as opposed to what he's going to be making this coming season. So they've been able to figure out a way to bring in players. By the way, they lost Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba. Those were two of the biggest, those were salaries number 2 and 3 on this team. So, they don't have those salaries now. So that money is going to go for this year's roster. It's not like they still have Jordi Alba. They don't have him anymore. Right. They don't have Sergio Busquets anymore. You can assume, although we haven't seen the salary figures yet, that El Pistolero, he just really wants to play. He loves to play. I'm sure he took a pay cut, though. He was making $1 million. I'm sure he took a pay cut to come back. He's going to play probably he's not going to be a guaranteed starter, and he's not going to be guaranteed $1 million. He has a contract which maybe will have some incentives so that if he does score a bunch of goals, then he'll get some bonuses and so on. But as far as the guaranteed money, I don't know this, but I would guess that his guaranteed money is not what it was last year either. No. So this is how the team is putting it together. They are under a lot of scrutiny from the league. They are not cheating. I just don't believe that they're just out there cheating and spending millions and millions of dollars that they're not allowed to spend. They are finding a way to make the roster work. And these guys that they just signed, some of them are very young. David Ayala is 23. He's coming in under 22 initiative. Because even though he's 23 now, he was signed by Portland in the U22 initiative, and you are allowed to spend 4 or even 5 seasons under that classification, which means that even though he's 23, he is an under 22 signee. Right. So his contract also does not go up against the salary cap the way the older players. So they're building this roster in a very creative way and very ambitious. And why don't we hear from Jorge Mas, right? About what he's thinking going into this year. Let's hear it from the man himself.
Como he dicho, aspiramos a levantar trofeos, aspiramos a tener y poder hacer un club, y esto lo digo para elevar el fútbol en Norteamérica. Yo no solamente quiero ser el equipo referente de la MLS. Yo creo que tenemos la posibilidad de nosotros ser uno de los mejores equipos de este hemisferio. Y eso se puede probar jugando la Conca Champions, donde obviamente hay participación de todos los países de CONCACAF, principalmente contra los equipos mexicanos, también en un Leagues Cup. Me encantaría ver que el Mundial de Club se pueda repetir más para nosotros podernos medir contra los mejores clubes del mundo. Obviamente una competición como la Libertadores, me encantaría ver si algún día el Inter Miami puede participar en Libertadores para poder competir con los gigantes de Sudamérica, una competencia que Leo no ha jugado. Esas son las aspiraciones nuestras. Nosotros siempre vamos a aspirar a traer los mejores jugadores, a ser referente del fútbol en Norteamérica para poder competir global y mundialmente, porque obviamente nosotros somos un club global, somos una marca global, referente del mundo, teniendo al mejor jugador de todos los tiempos en la plantilla de Inter Miami, nuestro capitán. Pero siempre vamos a aspirar a más y siempre vamos a aspirar a traer los mejores jugadores y jugar un fútbol de muy alto nivel, y creo que empezamos a ver eso en octubre, noviembre y diciembre con Inter Miami, y eso es lo que aspiramos, jugar un fútbol extraordinariamente bien, atacando, anotando goles, protegiendo espacio, posesión, y creo que podemos ver lo que es posible en los últimos 9 partidos del año.
The guy's a dreamer. The guy is a dreamer. Jorge Mas, by the way, he also helped bring University of Miami football coach Mario Cristobal. He was very instrumental, he and his brother, to bringing that coach to the University of Miami. And guess what? They just played for the national championship of college football. So Jorge Mas is a big dreamer. Freedom to dream is their motto. Freedom Park, the new stadium that they're building. The guy thinks big. The guy thinks big.
His last name literally is more. Mas.
More. His name Mas means more.
Yeah.
And he is never satisfied. He wants more. He wants more, and he wants bigger. And if he has the ability and the money to do it, he's going to go big. He is not going to skimp. He is not going to try to do it the cheap way. He is going to go and spend the money and try to get the best players that he can under the MLS salary structure. And what he said there, for those who are listening and don't have the subtitles on the video, is that we aspire to more. We just said the word Mas. We aspire to more. He said, we don't want to be just the benchmark team for MLS. We want to be a benchmark and a top team for the whole hemisphere. And we think that we can do that. And he said, and the key is, we want to test ourselves in the CONCACAF Champions Cup against the best teams in this region. We want to test ourselves in the Leagues Cup against Mexican teams. We hope that we can play again in the Club World Cup against some of the best teams in the world. He wants to test themselves. Mm-hmm. And then he said, we would love to play in the Copa Libertadores someday. He said, we would love to play Copa Libertadores. And he said, that is a tournament that Messi has not played. And it's true. As big of a star as he is in South America, his professional career has been in Europe and in MLS. So he has not played a Copa Libertadores. So he said, someday I would love to see us play in that, because we are a global club with the best player of all time on our roster, our captain, and we aspire to more. We want to play attractive brand of soccer. We want to score. We want to defend. We want to be one of the best, most attractive teams. And he said that he felt that they showed that at the end of this season. They were starting to show in the last 9 games what is possible, but they're not satisfied with that. He wants Mas, Jorge Mas, and Jose Mas and David Beckham want Mas. They want more. And so they've brought in these defenders. They're going to bolster the defense, get stronger on the defense. Now, the two negotiations that have gotten the most headlines and that are, the biggest headlines are the two that have not happened so far. One is, he is trying to get the MLS Defender of the Year, Tristan Blackman from Vancouver. Vancouver, the opponent of the MLS Cup final. Obviously a very good team. And Tristan Blackman was named the MLS Defender of the Year. Inter Miami confirmed they put in a bid for him. It is believed to be $2.6 million or so, 2.7 from my sources. They had an offer on the table for him. And according to, again, my very impeccable sources, that was almost a done deal. They were finalizing that deal. Vancouver stepped in and said, wait a minute, wait one little minute. He is not for sale. We want to keep negotiating with him. He is not, this is not a done deal. This is not, we are still talking to him. So they are still in talks with him. He is in camp with them in Spain in a preseason camp. He is with Vancouver. He reported to training camp. He is with Vancouver, and Jorge Mas was asked about it opening day of training camp, and he said, we did talk to them. We put in an offer, but as of right now, he is still their player, and therefore, for right now, that matter is dead. As far as, right now, he said that matter is closed. He said that matter is closed. He is a member of their team. So as of right now, the Tristan Blackman deal is not happening. He is still in negotiations for a new contract with Vancouver. They want to keep him. The other one I do think is going to happen, and who knows, may even happen by the time this podcast comes, because is by the time you listen to this podcast, because Jorge Mas said on Saturday on the opening day of training camp that they would have an answer for this in the next 36 hours or so, 36 to 48 hours. So they are negotiating with Monterrey of Mexico for Germán
Germán Berterame.
Gerard Berterame. I am so sorry. Gerard Berterame. I was mixing up my consonants. Gerard Berterame is an Argentine player who has been playing in Mexico. He is one of the top, definitely, the top forward for Monterrey. He's beloved there. He scores a lot of goals. He scored against Inter Miami 2 years ago in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, so they know him well. He plays for the Mexican national team. He's a guy who is from Argentina, but through naturalization papers with Mexico, he's on the Mexican national team, will be playing for the Mexican national team in this World Cup coming up. He's a very, very good player. He's a forward, and that is the next position. After focusing on the defense, they also would like to bring in a forward to compete with Pistolero, and they have Silvetti. Remember what Silvetti, the young Argentine player, he replaced Luis Suarez in the starting lineup during the playoffs and did an amazing job. But now, if they bring in Berterame is a guy who has experience. He's a very good, very productive forward. So that is their next big goal, is to bring him in. He will cost money. He would be a DP. His transfer fee is believed to be $15 million. So they would have to pay a big transfer fee to get him from Monterrey. But he has connections with the Inter Miami front office, and it seems like that is a deal that probably will happen as far as everything that we hear so far.
Yeah, big acquisition to add some depth too at that spot. We've been talking about defensive depth, but this is also one that you need. You need scoring punch. There's going to be games. We know Messi's not going to play every single game. We know he's going to miss a few here and there for different reasons. You need that scoring punch. And at Suarez's age, it's going to be in his new role. So let's hear from one of the new acquisitions now. Sergio Reguilón spoke, and here's what he had to say.
Buen día, chicos. Buen día. ¿Cómo estamos? ¿Todo bien? Hola.
Bienvenido, Sergio. Bueno, háblanos un poquito sobre cómo han sido estos últimos meses. Sabemos que ha pasado un tiempo desde tu último partido. ¿Cómo te has manejado físicamente? ¿Cuándo te llega la noticia de Inter Miami? ¿Cuál es la expectativa que tienes?
Bueno, es verdad que tengo un tiempo ahí parado, pero de competición, no de entrenamiento, que he estado trabajando sin parar todos los días, y la verdad que me encuentro físicamente espectacular, muy sano, muy en forma y con muchísimas ganas de empezar con mis compañeros y demostrar todo, porque es verdad que bueno, tuve ahí un problemilla personal de familia, pues estuve más un poquito ausente, y ahora es momento de rendir en el campo.
Viendo tus videos o de la forma que juegas, que manejas ambas piernas, te proyectas, eres bueno también en 1 contra 1, ¿crees que esas características de cómo está acostumbrado a jugar Lionel Messi ha sido también influyente para que te sumes a este equipo y también sigas aportando, como lo hacía de repente Jordi Alba en su función de proyección, de centros, y siempre buscar a Messi también o a Suárez? ¿Crees que esto ha sido también?
Bueno, Jordi tiene unas características, de verdad que es irreemplazable para mí, siempre lo he dicho, es el mejor lateral izquierdo de la historia de España, entonces esta altura va a ser muy complicado, pero bueno, tengo mis características, sé lo que puedo aportar al equipo, sé lo que me va a pedir el míster y como digo, siempre sumando para el equipo, para que gane, y es lo que es la función de todos los jugadores aquí, hacer que este equipo gane.
Las comparaciones van a ser inevitables, quizás injustas, pero inevitables. ¿Cómo manejas eso?
Nada, bien, con tranquilidad, es algo normal en el fútbol. O sea, al final piensa que vivimos de esto, todo el mundo habla, todo el mundo comenta, pero bueno, cada uno sabe su función en el club, como siempre he dicho, sé de mis virtudes, de mis defectos, y lo mejor es ir sumando cada uno nuestro granito de arena para que el equipo siga siendo campeón como estamos ahora mismo.
So Sergio Reguilón, I mean, there's a lot of questions with him coming in. He's 29 years old, so he's still young. He obviously has a pedigree. He was signed by Real Madrid. He's from Spain. He's signed with Real Madrid. He was with Tottenham. But he said that he admits that he had an injury several years ago, but that has not been an issue for a while. He said he had a personal problem, like a personal family problem or some kind of personal problem that affected him this past season with Tottenham. They let him go. He was a free agent, and he has not played for quite some time now. So the big question is, people don't really know what they're going to get with him. He's a guy who obviously has a pedigree that those big clubs signed him. So he certainly has talent, and he says now he wants to show on the field. Now is his time to show on the field. He said that even though he hasn't played in a competitive games for quite some time, he has been working out every single day. He feels very fit. He feels very ready, and he can't wait to get started with the new team. He was asked about, replacing Jordi Alba, and he said Jordi Alba is irreplaceable. He's irreplaceable. He said, he's the best at that position in the history of Spain. And so he said, I think it's going to be very difficult to replace him because he's irreplaceable, but I will do my best to do everything I can for the team. And even though, yes, everybody will talk about the comparisons are inevitable. Everybody will be commenting. He says, I know that the best thing to do is just do what you can do. I know what my strengths are. I know what my weaknesses are. And he just wants to contribute to the team in his own way and try to avoid all the comparisons with Jordi Alba. So this is a guy who is, going to step into that position on the left side. Again, he's a guy who's played in the EPL. He's played in La Liga. He has played in two of the biggest leagues in the world. So he comes with, he's an interesting signing, but he did have some issues and did not have the career that he wanted at Tottenham nor at Real Madrid. To be honest, he's kind of been looking for the right place, and maybe this will be it for him. So he's an interesting signing, and we'll see what he does.
Yeah, almost a little bit of a second chance for him in a way, because didn't go quite the way he hoped in those leagues. But that's valuable experience, as we know. I mean, once he gets a little bit adjusted to this league, nothing's going to really phase him in terms of what he's going to see out there, having played all against such quality competition. But we've talked a lot about in this episode so far about the new acquisitions, and you've mentioned a few of the mainstays that are back, but they're not the only ones that we said before. Noah Allen is still there. Silvetti you mentioned, obviously Messi, of course. Maxi Falcone is back. I haven't talked about Rodrigo de Paul is back too. As expected, he is going to stick around a while too. Another guy that's valuable to have for the next few years. He was on
loan. Yeah, and he was on loan, although we all knew, on loan. He's Messi's close friend. He was on loan from Atletico Madrid, but that was understood that when that loan ended, he was going to sign a permanent contract. So he's here for the long haul as well. So getting him and Allende back are really big. Allende was a bit of a question mark because there were teams in Argentina that were interested in him. He had such a good end of the season that his stock rose. His stock definitely rose, and there were other suitors that wanted him. But again, Jorge Mas did not want to let him go, and he outbid the other bidders and gave him that long-term deal. He is signed through the year 2030. He is signed through the year 2030 with an option for 2031. So they have him for the long haul. They have Rodrigo de Paul. Noah Allen is back. Telasco Segovia is coming back. Matteo Silvetti, a young player, he's back. And let's not forget Yannick Bright, one of my favorite players. Yannick Bright. Yannick Bright is back. David Ruiz is back from injury. And Santi Morales, a young player who didn't play as much, but a young guy who's been from the academy. So a lot of players are back. there's going to be a lot of competition. This team, I would say the biggest difference this year's team and last year's team is it's going to be stronger defensively. There's going to be much more depth. And I spoke with Noah Allen again at the MLS Media Day. I had a one-on-one interview with him, and I asked him about going into this season, if there's a target on their back, and also about the competition, that he is going to have competition in the back line. Here's what he had to say. Do you feel like this team already had a target on its back before? I really feel like this team is the team everyone around the league loves to hate, I guess, which every league has that. Do you feel like being the champions that there's even more of a target on the team's back, like everyone wants to beat the champion and upend the champion? And how do you guys handle that coming into camp?
I mean, when it comes to that regards, kind of just block that out as players. But at the end of the day, the truth is that I think, and it's no disrespect to any other teams or anything, I just think we have the highest standards in the league. I feel like we expect a lot from ourselves. We want to perform every game. We want to act like every game's a final. We want to compete. We want to give the fans good football. We want to win every trophy that we can win. So at the end of the day, I mean, that any talk and stuff, it doesn't, we don't really pay attention to it. I mean, obviously we hear it, but we don't really care for it, and we just focus on ourselves. We focus on training our best every day and winning every game possible.
I'm going to ask one more on the video here, which is the ownership clearly was not even satisfied with winning the title. They want to win more. They've done a lot of off-season moves, and there are a few more that are to come, from what I hear. Can you just talk about, as a player, and they're especially focusing on the defensive side, how do you take that as a player? There's going to be more competition, obviously, in the back. Can you just talk about the addition of the new players, potentially more defensive players coming in? How does that affect you?
Yeah, it doesn't affect me. I want to go into training every day to compete and have my team win, right? Competition is good. As much as, people may say, or like an individual may not want a certain player, competition is good. It makes the other players better. It makes the players that are coming in better. And it makes the team better, We want to win every game as possible. I want to win every trophy. After winning the MLS Cup, I'm hungry to win more. And, bringing in new players, it's good. I'm happy, new center backs and, fullbacks, whatnot, midfielders, even if forwards, doesn't matter to me. Competition is great for the team. It's great for the camaraderie of the team. Everyone is going to compete. There's no handouts in this team, that's for sure. And I think it's great.
So he's ready. He's saying, bring it on. Noah Allen, again, an amazing, a kid who came up from the academy to be a starter in the MLS Cup championship run. He's saying, bring it on. It's fine. I don't mind the competition. I like competition. It makes the team better. The more competition, the better. He doesn't shy away. And he says that there are no handouts on this team. And I do think that that's what Javier Mascherano doesn't want. Any good coach doesn't want anybody to feel comfortable. You should never feel that position is just yours. And look at what happened to El Pistolero, and look at what happened to Oscar Ustari. Those are two players that were Messi's friends. We sort of everyone assumed that, well, there's no way they're going to be benched because they're Messi's friends. I think Javier Mascherano, as the season went on, he became a stronger leader. I think he also started to really have strong feelings about what he wanted on this team and what kind of players he wants in the back and what kind of players he wants to be playing. And he made some tough decisions, those two being the two toughest ones, I think. And he made those decisions. And now going into this season, just the vibe that I'm getting is that this is a team that Javier Mascherano, had some impact in putting together, which players they're bringing in, players that maybe he was impressed with as he was coaching in MLS. He was impressed with Dane St. Clair. He was impressed with, trying to get Blackman from Vancouver, this kid from Portland Timbers, whom he knows from playing with him in Estudiantes. It seems like, it's going to be a lot of the same players, but with a blend of some new players that could make this team even better than they were last year. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, they have to play the games, and
Right.
they're going to start playing this weekend
Right.
with this preseason South America tour.
And Michelle, we've been talking about the whole episode and all that, and obviously just mentioned a lot about Mascherano and all that. But how about just the fact that he also came back? Because you and I looked at each other after the MLS Cup, and we weren't sure. We both thought,
Right.
has he walked out of this building for the last time? Was this a 1 year and out situation for him? But to get him back and to have that continuity with this team now going forward, that's another offseason move that worked out well for them.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he was under contract, but he had never, we had talked about it. Whenever I asked him about his future and will I see you next year, he left it a little bit open.
Like
And,
hazy, yeah.
his family had not, and his family had not moved here from Argentina, which I always found, it left that door open for him to go back to Argentina. And he had mentioned that he'd like to coach in Argentina sometime. So I thought maybe that would happen. He is back.
Yeah.
Mascherano is back. He was at training camp first week. And I do think that he had an input in this team. I think this is, and, Jorge Mas said that he wanted this team to have the tools that Masha needs. He wanted this team to have the tools that Masha needs to continue and build on what they've done so far. So, yeah, they got their coach back. They've got a lot of the stars from last year's team back, and then they've got a bunch of new players. And if they get Germán Berterame, if they get him, that's going to be a big get. That's going to be a big get. This is a guy who really can score, has scored a lot for Monterrey. And, he's going to cost money in the transfer fee, but it will be interesting. And he would be a DP. I think he would be the third DP, and we'll see what happens. But they start now this weekend right away.
Yeah.
Tell us about the tour they have coming up. 3 countries in South America.
It's automatic. This team has to go on the road in the preseason. Apparently it's built in now that every year this has to be the case. They're going to showcase their stars, and they're doing it again, a 3-game, so far 3-game, maybe more preseason games get added later.
Could be more.
But there could be more. But for now, January 24th, as you're watching and listening to this podcast, is the date against Alianza Lima in Peru. Then they go off to Colombia for a January 31st game against Atlético Nacional, and then a February 7th game against Barcelona. Not that Barcelona de Guayaquil in Ecuador. Had you going for a second, maybe that would be something if that ever happened. But no, those 3 games coming up, and like you said, maybe a few more. And then this team is back at it for real. And the CONCACAF Champions Cup is on the way, a round of 16 against a familiar opponent, potentially. Could be Nashville, match up with Nashville. They got tired of seeing Nashville in the first round last year. Here they come again. But, of course, the big one, this is the Miami Freedom Park year, Michelle. April 4th against Austin. We know that first 5 games are on the road, though, and a huge one, February 21st at the LA Coliseum. Inter Miami, LAFC. We know the star power in this matchup. That's going to be a big kickoff game for the league that day.
Yeah, and it's right around the corner. We're talking about exactly a month away. This podcast will be January 21st. February 21st is the opening game of the MLS season, right around the corner. Between now and then, they're going to have the preseason, those 3 games in South America, plus potentially another 1 or 2 games, even maybe another game abroad. I've heard rumors of an Asia game again, which to me would seem crazy, but whatever. They do what they do. And then CONCACAF Champions Cup, like you said, in March. But in February 21st, they start the season. Then they play the first 5 games on the road. And yes, LAFC for the opener against Messi. It's a really big, high-profile game in the Coliseum in an iconic building. It'll be really big. And then April 4th, opening game at Miami Freedom Park Stadium. I just passed it going to the airport the other day, and it's going up. They've got a crew of between 800 and 1,000 people are working on that stadium to have it done for April 4th. So there's a lot to look forward to in the next few months, a lot to look forward to for fans of this team.
Tighten all the bolts, put all the beams in. Let's get this going. It's almost there. The garage is almost there. You can see that even clearer because that's even closer to the highway. And impressive how fast this thing has really, if you think about it, not a construction project like this, relatively speaking, it really has gone up a lot quicker than I think a lot of people thought.
Yeah, no, it looks good. I mean, there's a way to go still, but they have assured everybody they've already sold the tickets for big money, and they are going to be open. They say April 4th, they're going to be open against Austin for the first game at Miami Freedom Park.
You know who else is back, Michelle? Inside Inter Miami's back. That's right. This was the comeback episode, and we will be back now consistently as we get closer and closer to the start of the MLS season. We'll see you guys next week. We'll talk a little bit about how that first preseason game on the road in Peru went for the squad, how they looked, get some first glimpses of this new look Inter Miami as they defend their MLS Cup crown this season. And like Jorge Mas says, always shooting for more. We know they're involved in several tournaments.
Shooting for Mas. Always
shooting for Mas. I should have said it that way. My bad. Shooting for Mas. The Columbus grad. God, it makes you wonder what he could have done with that baseball team across the way if he had gotten the chance, right? But hey, the Marlins' loss is Inter Miami's gain in retrospect, and this franchise wouldn't be here now without it. So until next week, we'll be back. For Michelle Kaufman, I'm Andre Fernandez. Enjoy the start of at least preseason soccer, everybody, and we'll be back to talk about it next week. Thanks for watching Inside Inter Miami.